everyone, I'm Carius, and today we're going to be talking about Hyperfires. This is my Hyperfire pistol that I made 2 or 3 years ago at this point. It's from the days of 180 motors actually still being a thing that there was a reason to use, because we didn't have, I don't think we even had fangs at this point. So it's got two 180, I forget what they're even called, Make Test Battle 180 3S motors. And it's got this really nice 3D printed Jace 3D motor cover. If you're not looking closely, it barely looks like there's anything different. It's just really cool how he's kind of printed the rest of the Elite onto the motor cover. And after a lot of use, I had this E start curling up and try to come off, and I super glued it back down, but I got some of that super glue bleaching that happens, so it looks a little weird, but it was much cleaner when I initially bought it. And yeah, this is a pretty nice little Hyperfire. I believe this actually has the stock flywheel cage and the stock flywheels in it, and the upgraded motors. And on the belt, I've got these small 3D printed little notches that glue onto the nubs of the original belt and give it a lot more purchase onto the darts that it's trying to push, and you end up with much less jamming, and you don't hit that issue that Hyperfires have, especially when modded, where they won't quite grab the top dart in the magazine, and then the conveyor belt will just cut a channel through the dart, and the dart will just be there, and it'll just be jammed and stuck. This feeds way more reliably with that little addition, and it keeps up the rate of fire really well. I believe I replaced the conveyor belt motor with a Rhino, an MTB Rhino motor, and that gives you a really nice rate of fire, but also isn't a strong enough motor that you'll strip out the gears in the Hyperfire. I've replaced the conveyor belt motor with stronger motors before. I think I did an overvolted Fang on a Hyperfire before, and the worm gear just drilled its way through the gear that it was interfaced with. Like, you just ended up with this completely stripped, screwed up gear, and it destroyed the conveyor belt. But yeah, so this has just got the motor upgrades, and it's on 3S. The cool thing, aside from the conveyor belt little notches, which is a big deal for reliability, the one cool thing I did with this is just how I store the battery on the Hyperfire pistol. Obviously this is shortened, it's cut off here. I've got some gray plastic sheet that I cut that matches the plastic of this pretty nicely, and I sanded it down. And it's just a much more comfortable blaster without the stock. I find that the stock is just this weird cramped thing where you're just kind of got this claw grip on it, especially if your hands are really big like mine. And it's just such a much more comfortable blaster when your hand can actually go around the grip all the way, and I like it a lot. But of course, without the stock, there's no battery area, so instead I've got the battery up here, and there's a way you can cut the Hyperfire shell to just create a battery tray where, like this, you can see there are no screws in these three slots, and that's so I can just lift this and slide this out, and then there's my battery. So you can see you had to separate the blue and the orange plastic pieces and cut the blue part across here. So you can see this simple cut. And then on the orange part, you cut across here and separate those. And also, you take off gray plastic that holds the orange piece on there. And then suddenly, you have space for a smaller battery. Like, this won't hold a huge battery or anything, but it's enough for like this nanotech, and you can get a little bit more space by taking out some more of these plastic ridges and everything, but this was enough space for me. And so now, with that gray piece removed and then these two cuts on the blue and then the orange, you can just slide the orange part under the blue here and slide that up. Well, this little connector was getting in the way, let me just tuck that down. There we go. And you can just do this, and that attaches into place, and you can put a screw in here if you want to keep it together, but it holds really well on its own. and doesn't let the battery out, and it's really easy to just do that. So that's really nice. I think I've made 3 of these. I've only got 1 of them because 2 of them were commissions and kids have them. So I don't have access to those, but they're basically the same idea as this thing. I used 130 motors in the other ones I made, but it's an identical setup where I just did the same cuts, and they have this nice battery door, and you have a nice compact little submachine gun that gets you really good rate of fire and surprisingly good performance out of just a stock cage in this case. Or if you want to upgrade the cage, you can do something like this, where I have my other Hyperfire. This one I left the stock on just so I could fit a large battery in it, but I really don't like the ergonomics of this stock. Like, I'm tempted to maybe just cut out this whole section and leave it attached just at the top. I don't know if that would make it flimsy, but I just really want my hand to be able to wrap around the handle, and you can't do that with this weird thumb hole. And so you end up holding it with your hand kind of out, and you got this weird claw grip, and it works, but this is so much more comfortable, and it makes a really nice, almost like pistol form factor in how you're holding it. But this one has an upgraded cage and flywheels, and it's got this weird little printed adapter at the front for end strike attachments, just because I had it and I wasn't going to use it on anything else. And this has the same printed little tabs that are glued onto the belt. It's just some I think any kind of like flexible super glue type thing, like super glue gel, will work, and these have stayed on and not given me problems, and it just makes the Hyperfire way more reliable. I don't have any failures to feed with either of these now that I've got this little notch on there. And it's 2 of them. There's 2 notches in the belt. So there's another one around here under the plastic. With the added tabs on the belt, and if you wire the actual conveyor belt for motor braking, you get a really surprisingly controllable rate of fire out of a Hyperfire. It's not difficult at all to fire 1 shot at a time with just a tap of the trigger, because you don't have the belt continuing to let darts out after you've let go of the trigger. Motor braking makes a huge difference on blasters like this. Anything that's got this conveyor belt set up, Chaoses and Prometheuses are similar in that you get a much, it's a huge difference in rate of fire control when you wire the conveyor belt for motor braking. In my Prometheuses I've modded that are for 3S, I can actually shoot single rival rounds at a time fairly consistently. Not that I usually want to, because it's a Prometheus, but the fact that I can is pretty nice. That's all there is to say about it. Let's get it. Let's show you some fire. Okay, I got a couple magazines loaded up. One thing that's real nice about the added tabs in the conveyor belt is that you can use worker curved magazines with the Hyperfire. I found in the past that just the slightest amount of curve where the back end of the dart isn't fully straight causes the Hyperfire to just not be able to fire. It'll get stuck and just try to dig into the dart. But with that extra tab, it makes a huge difference. Let's see if I can fire some single shots over the chronograph. Yeah, I hear the magazine's actually getting stuck. I need to clean this mag. It keeps doing this. That's not the fault of the Hyperfire. So that's pretty reliably getting like 95 FPS, and that's with the stock cage and stock wheels. So it's a nice little bullet hose pistol throwing 100 FPS. Now if you upgrade the cage and get a higher crush in there, then you get something more like this. I'm going to use just a regular Nerf magazine this time, where the FPS numbers are a bit higher. So that's consistently 135. Yeah, right at 135, 139. And with a magazine that's actually not jamming, you can see how easy it is to get single shots off. And that was the magazine. Just a rate of fire demonstration here. $18 rounds. So it's pretty easy to get a Hyperfire reliably just turning into a dart hose. And with the added little tabs in the conveyor belt, I can't stress enough just how much those help the reliability of the blaster. It makes a really nice flywheeler. Now some of you are probably immediately thinking, why doesn't he just make a deleter? Put two of these together and make a double Hyperfire like Qualcomm did. And aside from the fact that it's already been done a couple times, I kind of have a different idea of what I want to do with a Hyperfire. If you look at the magwell, there's quite a bit of space on either side that looks like you might be able to fit one of these in there. This is a double stacked Dominator magazine, and I really want to see if I can open up a Hyperfire and get it to reliably feed off of 40 round Dominator magazines. That I think would be really awesome. And it certainly has the shell space for it. It's just a matter of getting the conveyor belt and the flywheel cage to play nice with this mag geometry and getting the darts that come from either side to go in straight or to even be engaged by the flywheel at all. There's definitely the space for the magazine with some dremeling. So that's what I want to do with a Hyperfire. So that's on my list of mods to try at some point. And I just really like the idea of throwing 40 rounds in a modded Hyperfire. Speaking of putting 40 rounds in a Hyperfire, got me a Titan drum all loaded up. And we'll see what this does to the table. Gonna make a mess. A little slow feeding, as you could tell with the drum, but it did eventually catch up. Let's throw a couple stick mags just to clean this up. Much better. And one more magazine just because. So yeah, this thing burns through ammo like crazy. And at 140 FPS, you can really reach out and tag somebody with a cloud of darts just kind of arcing this thing. I've had really good luck with it in the past at SE&C Wars. I really want to see if I can get it reliably. I don't know if it'll be this one or another Hyperfire. I have a couple more stock Hyperfires to mess with. But I want to see if I can make a Dominator mag shooting Hyperfire. That'll be cool. Alright. Thanks for watching. Just wanted to show off the Hyperfires and kind of talk about the couple of key mods you can do to them. This one's hitting 100 FPS with the stock cage and stock flywheels and just upgraded motors. So all you really need is better motors and rewire it. Throw those tabs on there for more reliability and you have a super nice little bullet hose. Or if you want to go a little more extreme with it, you can get a nicer cage and higher crush and make a full-on primary out of it, and it's surprisingly easy to do. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to clean up this mess again. Until next time, this has been Carius reminding you to have fun. Mm-hmm.